So the dilemma, I am doing a show this weekend. I'm so looking forward to it. The Anime North in Toronto by the, I guess the Delta Hotel by the airport. Look it up online. I'll be there all weekend. With something that sort of looks like that. So, but the dilemma, I'm told that we do not have any power, 110 volt power supplies, outlets, whatever, cords in our little area for display because it's never been asked before. And I understand that, so that's not an issue. The issue is, of course, my layout usually requires power. Now, if I don't care about the lights, and when the tower looked like that, well, still looked like that, but when the tower was that built there was no light in the tower. It's, well, the tower itself was lit up, but it didn't have to be. And of course, you saw in my previous history for last year during lockdown, where I made it a point to do something during the lockdown, and my little work project at home was to fully light the layout. And overall, I was, I think, relatively successful on that, and looked forward to showing it off. And of course, I had to lay out my house, and I showed it off. And my friend Pete and I did that video at his studio, which was utterly fantastic. We showed off the lighting, blah blah blah. So, but I also knew that because of actual like public display shows that are not like brick fete and or Lego conventions, that there would be no time when I'm doing a lights out. Like if you're going to a hobby show or a Toy Train Adult show or a collector show or any of those other shows, my experience is I've never, ever had a lights out. They don't do that because there's a logistical, legal, turn off all the lights. So I wasn't worried about the lighting of the layout itself for those shows when I'm doing public shows. And so, but the other thing is that I also, with the lighting, I also wanted to copperize my monorail track and have the layout fully 110 volt for anything that moves. RCX is causing things to move, 9 volt train track causing things to move, blah, blah, blah. So there's the train there. So I spent a lot of work making, converting my layout so even the monorails would not require batteries. And you saw that because I built this guy here, and you can see the bottom. There is pickup, and you can see how messy they get. And here's me trying to do it with one hand. Pickups with monorails, and it works fantastically. When I did the show at Pete's place and the previous shows with the pickups, and here's, holy moly, these things are not holding up very well. I have to come up with a better solution. But here's the pickups right on the motor. That was a busted motor that I got off of Bricklink years and years ago. And when I took it apart and put it back together, it worked again. so since it was apart, and so here's a really quick tangent. Let's see if I can find another one. So here's a regular monorail motor that hasn't been taken apart. And you can see there's these white clippies inside there, and there. What I did, because this motor wasn't working at all, is I drilled out, let's see if I can get it focused. I drilled out there, and there, a little bit, just a little bit, enough to remove it, because I wanted to see what the inside looked like, because it was busted anyway. It wasn't working. I tried everything. And as soon as I took it apart, I said, oh, that's ingenious, simplistic ingenious, which is the hallmark of wonderful design. The simpler it is, the more genius it is. And then I put it back together afterwards, and it worked. And I said, woohoo! But then I had this monorail motor that would be easily, the white comes off the black. And so what I did was I soldered 2 wires to the electrical plate that's inside there. That's part of the switch for making this for this thing. And then I drilled 2 little tiny holes through this base plate, and I stuck the wires to those holes, and I soldered these things on to those wires. So right now I cannot take apart this motor because the wires are too short. I would have to break the contacts here. I would have to snip the wires here basically in order to take this motor apart again. But I don't need to, because of course this thing works perfectly well on the layout as it is. So, but the motors do come apart if you do that. Anyway, so I had converted that one. Of course, this one's a 9 volt train anyway. You can see the motor there with the pickups. right? So so the 9 volts are always 110 volt with the little controller. I didn't bother converting over to PF or power functions or whatever else they had. Now I did buy a few train sets after 9 volt disappeared, so I did have some. That white train that had the big nose piece, but the batteries were contained in the entire train base plate. So the batteries are right there, and then you had I can't build that in here. So basically, what I have to do now, it's a lot 5 minutes of getting to where I'm actually telling you what I'm doing right now, is I'm trying to see. I believe I haven't gone into this bin in I don't know how long. And it's labeled train motors and train base plates. That's what it's labeled as. I have one train motor here, obviously. I brought a few spares. I always bring spares when I do a show. So these are original 9 volt train motors, non-modified 9 volt train motors. They even have the clippies on the end, which is fantastic. So I actually have some really good, because you never know when they're gonna die. No, I've never had one die on me yet. Seriously, I've never had a train motor die on me yet, but you just never know. I went out to that guy in Niagara Falls when he had the Lego display out there years ago. That's no longer there, but he had a stack of 9 volt train motors that were dead. And of course, he would run his basically the entire day for weeks at a time, months at a time. Of course, you're going to die, but I've never personally had one die. I've had some not have the contact power that they once did, and what happens is I put a little bit of graphite dust in them, and then Bob's your uncle, they work again. So that's what I do. I had to fix that guy too, he was broken. Anyway, so I thought, giving you guys some wonderful entertainment, so I thought I'd show you this box, which I don't go into too often because I don't have to, right? I got my motors out here, and they stay in the bin. So anytime I need to, hey, I want to build something using a train motor, like that happens. I already have 2 out, so I never had to go into this bin. And so I haven't been in this bin in a long time. And I thought, hey, let's show my friends this bin. So again, when I do buy lots, I find more of these. And so I put them in here because this is train base plates, and that's, to me, is a train base plate. So this is also something that goes way, way back. We bought a bunch of Z controllers because I'll get there in a sec. I'll show you some of the motors I have that I've converted to Z DCC, and this works fantastically well. My problem is that even with the programming with Mark Riley's DCC, LDCC, Lego Digital Command Center, it works fantastically well. The issue I have is not 100%. So when I have an RCX like this, communicating like with regular RCX firmware on it, to a Mark Riley's LDCC RCX, sometimes the AR communication doesn't work. So what would happen is you can go way back in my YouTube stream and find Palisade Villa. It's a little layout that I did in the basement long before we had Josh, long before we ran out of the house. And I was trying to make a whole train layout that was RCX controlled. And I used DCC, which for controlling 3 or 4 trains at a time. And so I had an RCX with light sensors throughout the layout and touch sensors throughout the layout and motor controls throughout the layout to turn the switches, because I had a few switch tracks and blah, blah, blah. And it worked phenomenally well when it worked. But when it didn't work, it was chaos, and then I have to reset the whole thing and go again. So the communication between the RCX telling the trains to stop, go, where, whatever's fast, slow, was 99% efficient. The 1% drove me nuts, so I stopped that. Because what you can do is you can connect one RCX with RCX firmware on it to a train track and just control it that way. But then you're only controlling 1 train at a time instead of 3 trains at a time. The RCX with LDCC had the ability to control as many, I think, up to 9 trains at a time, because basically you short circuit this thing with a 2x8 electric plate, connect that to a track using the train connector, and then it runs a signal through the track, and then it would just send out signals, the LDCC, Mark Riley's LDCC, to the track saying, hey, train 1, go faster, slower, backwards, whatever. It worked all by itself. And so if you want to do it manually control, it was perfect. So if you had just running LDCC and you weren't worried about computer controlling RCXs to tell it what to do, the controllers that you could build for the RCX, the handheld controllers to make it faster, slower, stop, and even using the RCX remote to speed up, slow down, and stop trains, perfect 100% of the time. Absolutely perfect 100% of the time. If you have a train layout and you want DCC control, this was the way to go. You put a Z controller inside the motor, the train motor, and then you use the RCX to control the layout manually using the RCX remote and or the rotation sensor. Fantastic, 100% of the time. But if you want to computer control it, so you can just step back and the computer says, hey, go faster, slower, go here, go there, change the switches automatically, which is what I was trying to do, a fully automated train layout, then it gets bad. So anyway, off on that tangent. So we bought a whole bunch of Z digital control. There's one right there. Unused. I think I have 3 or 4 unused still, because again, I didn't bother rolling it after that, because I already had some and I don't need to keep on making more. So I have one of those, some other train base plates that I got in other lots. And then we start working down. This is the base plate that came in that express train that looked like complete and utter dreck, from my opinion. But Sears had them on deep discount back in the day. I think I picked up at least 4 of them. And so they came with motors, obviously. They came with this, obviously. And they came with pieces, and they came with the train cars that are not in here, the ones that have the low, middle, and the higher, and lots of train wheels, some track, and blah, blah, blah. I picked up 4 of them for 25 bucks each from Sears. Of course I'm going to buy that. So that's how I got in 2 trains. And again, if you go back in my feed, I don't even think I have them on Flickr anymore. I was starting to build my whole CN layout, whatever. So I got a few of these now. This is the train that I was talking about, where this is the one big piece in the front and one big piece in the back, blah, blah, blah. And here's what I'm talking about. So here's the actual battery box for that train, and it connects to the IR controller here. I can't hide that in there. It doesn't work. It does not work at all. But it does have the power output right there to connect to the motor that I'm looking for. And I hope it's in here because I know I have at least one of those motors that have the wire dangling off of it. Now, what I could do, here's me blathering on and talking too fast again, is here's the train motor with a 9-volt connector, which comes up to here, which goes to light. So I could actually, this is why this is here. So I put a light in here. That's why the little black wire's there. It's not providing power to the motor. The motor's providing power to the light because the motor has the pickups, and that's what it does. That's what I was using that for, but I could go the other way. I could actually just drop a 9-volt battery box. I thought I had one here. Yeah, I can just drop the 9-volt battery box either right on top and just connect it to the power pickup on the motor and just let that run the train. So basically I'm trying to battery operate this motor here. And so that'd be the easiest for me to do right now, is just to drop this and connect it there. But I was trying to find and see if I can actually do it. So there's another one. And so it's a motor, a good motor. This is the LDCC motor that my good friend Callum made, so we could actually see what number, because we had 1 through 9. So he made these stickers when we were doing train shows. So I have a bunch of converted motors here. So that's on 3. This I got off, I can't remember where I got that from, but looks like I actually popped it off. I did too. I wonder if I glued it back. Here, let me just show you. Maybe it's here. Not the one I'm looking for right now, but maybe this thing is, it is too. So here, this is the mess. I don't think I made this one because I did mine a lot nicer than this. And I glued them back on. So there's the DCC chip there, right? And it comes in. Yeah, I did not do this because the wires are touching the axles, which is the stupidest thing in the world to do. So basically, all these wires in the DCC mean something. You have to connect to each side of the power pickups, first of all, to the wheels. And then you have to connect 2 wires to the motor because you have to separate the motor from the pickups, which was pretty easy. And then if you want, you solder to the thing here so you can have the lighting. And then there's 3 wires for that, because there's a return, but there's 2 wires for lighting, one going forward, one going backwards. And so you can have that. So if in an actual train, HO, whatever, you'd have lights in the front and lights in the back. This one, you just put those 2 wires together, and so front or back, the lights light up. So this is what you do, except you do it a lot nicer than that, because that's not pretty at all. So I must have got that off of somebody in the group. This is mine, and I think that's Callum's. I don't think it's glued. The one side's not glued anyway. Let's see if this one's any prettier. See, this is as pretty as it gets. Although this is as simple as it gets too. They just connected the motors and the pickup. There's no lighting in here. Oh, maybe there's lighting. Yeah, there's lighting. So I don't know if I did this one or Callum did this one, but that's how neat it's supposed to look. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was a microcosm of time in the RTL Toronto pantheon, as they say, where we were doing all sorts of this kind of crap that was just so much. I moved it, of course. So much fun, and I had honestly a blast back then because we got to do this stuff. So let's see. This is a busted motor I got off of somebody because it was missing the top, so I drilled it out. I remember that. I drilled it out because the actual pin on top was busted, and you can put a half pin in here. So you can still use it. So this is me fixing it. This was a busted motor. I don't know who I got it from, but it's also converted. As I said, I converted a bunch. This is a non-converted one, and it's missing a tab on the side, but that's fine. A non-converted one. Another one of those, I can't remember. I'm not a train guy. Pickup wires that have not been fixed by me, so I got lots of those. I should actually think about it sometime. But I have enough. This was an interesting one. This is, I don't know if this was, what is this? This is a here. This might be what I'm looking for, but no, I'm looking for, this is one I made years ago. Maybe I honestly thought I had one. I thought, here's the faceplate that I'm talking about that I got a whole bunch from that one, those trains. I honestly thought that I had, maybe I don't. So this is the motor that I think they still make now. So it has the connector here, which goes to a battery box. So I'm thinking of using this one for the show. This one, I honestly can't remember now. It has the thing on top. Might have been for this guy. I honestly right now don't remember. Some people would say, oh, that's the older motor. No, because it's got the axle holes, and this might have been somebody who's in the trains would tell me what this one actually came from. But this one, no pickups, see the plastic wheels, and it has the connector here. So I think this is the one before the one they have now, because I think the one they have now, they actually have the PF wire coming out of it. They don't have a connector on top, so they have the PF wire coming out. So this one might have been with this one, because this thing also has the 9-volt wire there, and this would go in the engine. Excuse me. So I'm debating right now. Oh, yeah, a Metroliner. I don't know. I could probably build, and I put my Metroliner doors. I bought a lot. These might have come out of Time Cruisers, I don't know. So I'm going to debate for a second whether or not I'm going to use this motor or just grab one of these motors and just have, it's a debate that I'm going to have. I just have to have a battery-powered motor in the layout. My thing right now is that I might not use this guy because these axles stick out too far. And if you look at this guy here, if I can disconnect them, this guy, I put these little oh, for crying out loud, panels, 2x3 panels, 1x2x3 panels. And so it hides the wheels, right? And if the axle sticks out 6 wide, I can't have these panels here. So I just might use a regular train motor from the 9-volt era. And let's just see if this thing actually is, there might be no, the battery might be dead, or that motor might be dead. Let's grab one that is not this. So I just might just do that, right? I see no harm in doing that whatsoever. So I'll just actually, I'll probably just leave the motor that's in there. Just run a wire to it. So I basically wasted all this time going through this stuff when I could have just put a battery box right on the actual train that I have now and not worry about it. And if we get there and we are pleasantly surprised that they have power, then I can just use the same motor and just bring a train controller. So there's this guy. Pardon? I can't hear. I'm gonna have to wrap this up so I don't have to go upstairs. So this is one I made because the pickups inside were busted. So this could not get power from the wheels anymore. So let's just see if I actually remember this, because this is such a long time ago. Look at that. And there we go. This is me goofing around with busted motors. So somebody gave this to me. I can't remember what show. It doesn't work anymore, and I took it apart, and the entire piece of steel that goes across on each side for the pickups, because basically the pickups just right on the inside of this wheel here, on each one of these wheels. It wasn't picking, and I guess they had worn out. They were really bad, so I just took them out, and then I put a hole in here, drilled the hole in here, and put a wire through, and soldered that right to the motor. This is what I do. Yes, I modify. If you have a problem with that, go to another channel. Now, again, because I have all these motors, I mean, it doesn't... I try to be respectful to I don't want to be like that kid in Toy Story where he destroys his toys. I try to be as respectful as possible with my stuff. You can see I'm really bad with the ABS glue. But I did this before we started Z controllering these things. So I already had a motor apart before we went into LDCC. So I already had taken one apart. I learned how to take it apart, quote unquote, nicer, because I tried one. And it works. And you just saw it work. So, I mean, this is years after, decades after the fact. So, you know, don't at me, bro. So I'm going to keep the two that I have out. I'm not going to use this guy. Again, I don't remember what set that came in, but recently, I don't think it's the latest version, but recently, put all these guys back in. This was a nice walk down memory lane. I'm happy I did it. I don't think I'm going to be able to put everything back in the box like it was, put the lid on. All the wires. I'm going to leave the wires out because I'm going to modify a few more. So that's going to say something. Really? never ever liked that set. And of course, I built it once because I built the instructions, and then I kept the cars that came in that set. I like the cars, and those were in my layouts at the beginning, in the town. So because they're car carriers, right? So, anywho, I'm going to be able to just, instead of having this wire go up to the front to the lighting here, I'm just going to take it off, and I'm going to have it. Now here comes the next point. I'm going to hold this thing up. So, do I build another train car to hold the battery box, or do I just take these guys off and put the battery box right on here? That's the question of the hour. That shouldn't have come off, but and then disguise it, right? Actually, I could probably disguise it in there. You know, do I do that? Get a white box, white battery box. I'll make that decision before the weekend. So I already have a solution. I'm happy about the solution, and we'll go from there. So everybody out there, stay safe, take care. I don't want to go off on too many other tangents. This was a really good focused discussion overall. And I'm going to have to take this one apart again and put the battery box on here because I had so much fun not making it a battery box, but now I have to put the battery box back on that one. And the other two monorails that I have are just still battery anyway, because there's no copper on the rails on those other two loops. So I'm going to put the battery back in here. I'm going to put the battery back in here. And I will just go through a bunch of batteries this weekend. So that's perfectly acceptable for a good show. I'm looking forward to it. I might do a live stream at some point. I'm there Friday to Sunday. I don't know when I'm going to do a live stream. I will probably on my Facebook say, hey guys, I'm going to do a live stream at like the X hours on Saturday. So if you're not on my Facebook, try to friend me. Um, I might do a pre-video and upload it here saying, oh, like a really quick video saying, oh, by the way, in 4 hours, I'm going to do a live stream at X. I'm going to feel my way at the show to see how I feel at the show. But I wouldn't mind doing a live stream. So that's it. That's all. I want everybody to stay safe. I want everybody to take care. I want everybody to know that I appreciate them, and be kind to your neighbors. And I will talk to you soon.